And ladies and gents, this is the big one. So again, to repeat some of the housekeeping stuff, we've got DracKeN, a former Platinum player, hoping to get into the playoffs, make it back to Platinum. He's playing as the Mongols. And then Mihai, I don't think he's ever actually been Platinum. I think that the expectations have been there for him over the last season or two. But I thought, again, he would win this group. Rapard's currently at the top of it. And if he wins this series, he then goes to the playoffs for potential for Platinum. So should be good. And with me, I have Ornlu, who's covered a lot of multiple seasons of TTL. So nice to have you, Ornlu.
Yeah, nice to have me on. Thanks a lot for that. Always look forward to these casts together, and we got ourselves a good set, so I'm glad you have me on for that. Chinese start, though, already looking very good for Mihai with only 20 seconds idle TC time.
Yeah, I mean, usually I would say that you don't want to let Chinese actually get through on the draft, but I would normally say the same with Mongols. So I'm pretty surprised. This normally means, and maybe you remember what the draft looked like, but I would guess that a lot of their bans were based around the closed map fortified clearing instead.
Yep. Humans, Malay, both banned for fortified clearing by Mihai almost certainly, and DracKeN banning Hindustanis and Georgians who are just not fun to play against at all, so
yeah,
that checks out.
Okay, makes sense. Well, it's not going to be the most exciting Dark Age. There are no boars on this map, so they're both probably just going to push in every single tier they have. So what are your expectations? What are your thoughts here on the series, knowing what we know about the two players and the maps?
Well, I do think that I favor each player on the respective home maps. So you kind of have ravines, right? It's not too aggressive. It's not too passive. This really feels like the big toss-up in the series. And, you know, as we've been saying, every single win is going to be super important. And already, I mean, I feel like games these days are so passive that I feel like it's always good to have Chinese. Even if you're Mongols, I just feel like you can just kind of hang back as Mihai.
Yeah, and I also think Mihai's got a really good base to work with, because sometimes your golds and your stones can be pretty far forward, but if he walls using his TC, he should be able to have safe gold and safe stone. You look at DracKeN's base, for example, the one golden stone's forward. He can still work with this. It's not like that's a horrible thing because he still has safe gold and stone, but when you're Chinese, you're going to be pretty defensive and you want every single resource you can get.
And because we saw this in the last series as well, in the first game, because it was Vietnamese versus Chinese. Do you like that players just don't go aggressive versus Chinese anymore? It feels like you just always give the initiative to Chinese, which feels like never a good idea.
Yeah,
but players are so scared.
I don't like it. Like, it bothers me. I think on Kilimanjaro there's reasons for it though, because there's only one boar, so. And the bases are really far apart, so it's harder to get over there. Here, you could maybe argue there's reasons for it as well. But I think DracKeN might actually go for a fast castle here, which I would love. It's a risk. I think if you go for high risk, high reward stuff against Chinese, it could really punish them.
Well, I saw a certain player go for fast castle into Mangudai really quickly earlier today, and that worked out pretty well, even though there was a bit of a doubt castle.
Yeah, who could that be? That guy's pretty good, honestly. I like that player.
Yeah, oh yeah. really top tier player.
Well, so
I expect him to win versus Andy.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Especially because I'll be playing after I cast Titans League all day. But I will say this about that. Because I know how it is, right? If I host a tournament, I get disappointed when people don't know aspects of the maps. But I actually did a decent amount of homework for some of those maps. And that map you're referring to, I actually don't know the name. The one where you chop to the outside.
It's like Tuola or something like that.
Tuolo? Okay.
Yeah.
So, now I have to give credit to DragonsStar, because DragonsStar was the one who really gave me the idea. But basically, he was like, you can use 3 vills for the first tree, and then you could squeeze 2 on the second tree. So if you do it properly, you can actually still go for unique unit and get to stone on time. So that was... I did a couple Dark Age tests for that map. So when we got to play that one, I was like, yes, I know what I'm doing here.
There you go. And you did chop out way faster, so that was very important in your victory.
Yeah. So I was completely wrong.
Did you see DragonsStar, though, in the game right after yours, or were you setting up for TTL?
No one went to the 5th game. Who won that series?
Well, let me just set up. It was the sudden death map on Canberra.
Oh, game 5?
Yeah, game 5.
Oh.
Target was... He didn't have water control, but he was up to Castle Age faster and was just going for some Monk Siege pressure. Dragon Star gets a defensive castle up and goes for a petard bust with a transport ship. And he tries to draw off target with a fake castle drop where he sent all his vills forward.
And did it keep going?
It almost worked. Target got 1 petard converted. You know, you need 5 petards to destroy a TC.
Yep.
There were 5 petards left, and 1 petard was converted, so it was only 4 petards, so it didn't work.
Disaster! No.
It was total disaster.
Well, I mean, I don't know what the timing was there, but usually you got to go in with at least 7. You have to assume that 2 of those petards are just not going to make 10. It. Oh, okay. So a lot happened. All right. Well,
a lot happened.
Well, I gotta say, we talked about the fast castle, and it doesn't seem like it's a fast castle for DracKeN. It's just a very defensive feudal. And Mihai looked at those walls, said, I'm up against DracKeN. DracKeN's a crazy player. And he goes forward. Like, we never see Chinese go forward. So I think he is trying to punish a fast castle that's not actually happening in the first place here from DracKeN.
You know, this reminds me a lot of like an MBL build, right? You're going up not as fast as like the more traditional meta options, but you're still going to just play defensive, just trying to hang in there.
Yeah.
And, I mean, his res collected is still very competitive right now, and Mihai clearly feels like he needs to do something. And here's the Mihai classic. I approve of this. Lots of stone walls.
This is wild, man. This is crazy. I also think this happens when this game means so much to him, right? Yeah. He has pumped himself up to get back to Platinum. He knows he needs to beat DracKeN. He's up against scouts. He is up against a scout rush. And he's going to lose his Vil, and he's going full Stonewall, full send. He doesn't see the stable. He doesn't know there's a flag on it. So I think on his mind still, Ornlo, he's just like, this must be Lancers. I don't want to die to Lancers.
It's a very rational fear to not want to die to a fast Castle Age Step Lancer play, but, I mean, you have to recognize these timings. It was up on 21 pop.
Yep.
And, I mean, this map is not so crazy with the hunt that you can just get a 21 pop fast castle even with Mongols. It's not, like, it's just not really possible. So I think you need to recognize that this is just a late feudal age.
Yeah, we'll see if he does. I mean, DracKeN, I mean, he's certainly going to know exactly what Mihai's thinking. Now, there is a slight chance there's a hole between these houses. Sometimes with the elevation that happens. But DracKeN just missing another villager on the wall. But the other wall is still not completed yet. So the scouts could run right through.
Yeah, and DracKeN will have ample opportunity to check for a hole there, and there is one between the barracks and the stable. So hopefully for Mihai's sake, he will be able to recognize that. But already DracKeN getting the first blood in the series.
Wow.
Pretty nice for him, but Mihai's chopping through.
That's just crazy to me. That's just crazy. And there was a hole between the houses. I called it. There was a hole. And so just as things were so bad for Mihai, this is actually could be completely fine if he can find the same amount of damage.
And I think there's a pretty decent chance of that happening. Able to utilize the high ground, use the architecture of the map to your advantage with these ranged units. And the scouts are kind of derping around, not doing anything, but still a couple of dead vills make that a third one. Yep. And now Archer's in the wood line.
Oh, man, what a crazy start here, especially compared to some of the other games we've seen. I mean, you could tell it's messy. Mihai is trying to save his villagers in his wood line. At the same time, DracKeN will get the kill. But I think this has to be advantage Mihai because not only did he kill the extra Vil, but he's still delaying the entire wood line. Like, that army didn't die to the tower. It's still something that DracKeN has to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, being up +1 in the Vil KD, it's nice. It's probably, you know, it's not game-winning. But what I like is that Mihai didn't give up on his stonewalling. Like, he's going to get there.
Yeah.
And he will be getting himself safely situated much more towards Castle Age. And, you know, he'll have sort of the full arsenal of options available to him in terms of how he wants to approach mid-game, whereas it's a lot messier for DracKeN, as you're saying.
It's so easy to say when you're casting. It's way different when you're in-game. So I will add that before, but as a player, you should know when you look at house walls like that on down or uphill terrain that there could likely be a gap there, and you've got to check. Now, again, he's in the moment. He's microing scouts. There's lots of nerves. It's easy to assume, but the difference in this game between him winning and losing could just be the fact that he didn't double check that house wall he had.
And I don't know what your thoughts are on this, T90, but I've always been of the opinion that if your entire strategy hinges on you being fully walled, the game being weird graphically is no excuse for not being full walled. You just need to check it. It needs to be a priority, even maybe over a little bit of scout micro.
Yeah,
just
no.
like back off for a second and check.
Yeah, no, I agree. I actually think a small detail that made it hard to check, though, was there was the palisade walls beyond the house wall. So maybe he clicked beyond it to see if there was a gap, and the villager's path through his TC, because the palisade walls were blocking the other side of it. So, yeah, who knows? Now, I speaking of your whole strategy, depending on walls, Mihai had a hole, and he's going to find that now. And I think... I don't know. I just don't trust the area near the barracks and the stable either. Like, there's definitely a gap.
There's still a hole there. There's 100%
right?
a hole here. There's actually multiple holes.
Is there, though? Well, I guess he checked.
Is there a palisade? Oh, there is a palisade between the barracks and stable. You can just see that little tip of the wooden
stakes. Okay, so he double-checked that. Wow, that's crazy. Wow. And the spears come over, and the spears hit the scouts. Mihai's on the way up, and yeah, I'm zooming in on it. You could barely tell, but there's definitely a palisade. Well played from Mihai.
The East Asian architecture set's also doubly hard because they all have all this bamboo growing out of the sides, which kind of look like palisade a bit.
Well, the bamboo's also difficult because sometimes if you're on a map with similar types of trees, you will assume that that's part of the wood line. So the houses are the worst, actually. If you look at the house to the right of DracKeN stable, that looks like a full-on bamboo tree. So, but this is spoken by two people who have had many holes in their walls over their crazy Age of Empires career. You just have to have it happen to you enough times where you just know what to look for, right?
Exactly. It's all been trial by experience, especially with those sorts of mistakes that can cost you games. But, it's all about learning from them, right?
Yep. Some people learn, and then other people don't. So, and that usually... Again, it's easier to say while casting. Like, I'm always talking about if you're doing, like, playing hyper random or something, how you have to pay attention. And then the other day, I didn't realize my fences were fences and 1 HP. So I was attacking a palisade gate next to a bunch of 1 HP fences, which is pretty embarrassing. So
that's why you need to play some of those campaign scenarios where you get resources for raising buildings. So you find the 1 HP fences to rack up a bunch of resources.
Well, maybe I'll do that after TTL, because I certainly need the help. So... Feels like if this was a normal game without holes in walls, and it was a 1-0 eco KD for Chinese, and they were slightly faster to castle, you always prefer the Chinese here, right? I think it's been different in how it's played out, but essentially we've arrived to a bit of a villager lead for the Chinese. That he's completely walled, he's booming, so DracKeN will have to be, I'll say, creative in the castle age to bring this one back.
Yeah, also investing into that defensive watchtower, so it's going to be more difficult to add any eco behind this. He does have the market, so he can buy back some stone, but it's certainly not going to be pretty, especially as Mihai is developing his Cav Archer army, because apparently that's the only unit in mid-game these days.
Can you imagine being Mihai, though? Like, Mihai is probably so grateful that hole was there, because he just completely misread the situation and was so panicked.
Yeah. Well, I mean... when you have players these good, those margins are razor thin. So, you can be very close to a comeback if your opponent just has one fatal screw up.
Yeah, and there's definitely a feeling for a player as talented as Mihai. Most people in this caliber are going to look at DracKeN and say, as long as I don't make big mistakes, I'm going to win here today. And DracKeN has proved many people wrong that he could be competitive with these types of players before. But man, what a workshop! That workshop going up in the like reinforcement area, and DracKeN actually able to get the workshop up as Cav Archers pass there. That's crazy.
Yeah, that is definitely a bit fortunate. The Cav Archer might have been a little too late anyway, but I still think this is a situation where sniping that forward villager would be very helpful. It would mean no forward monastery, no repairs for the Mangonel, and that's still something that you're going to want to prioritize.
Yeah, so this is all in from DracKeN. This is going to be full-on siege push with Camel Step Lancer and attempt to break through. He needs the army to push the CA back first, though. It's hard for him to group up with his siege, but he might be able to get there. The problem is the clock is ticking. It's 2 town centers for Mihai and really good eco behind this.
Yeah, spreading out the TCs as well, so that DracKeN wouldn't be able to sort of bounce around the high ground and avoid the center of Mihai's base. he's probably not going to attack towards the left side because of the stone walls, just want to break through the weaker sections of the wall if possible. So this would be a nice additional tool for Mihai to both get an eco lead and defend with.
This is exactly where DracKeN is really good, though. Like, he knows he's behind an eco. He has to all-in his opponent. He will lose the Vil finally. But this is where he can be really dangerous. And right when you invest into the third TC, that's when your eco is at its limit. It's really tough to keep your military buildings and your TCs all running at the same time. So against all-in pressure, like triple Mangonel, 10 Lancers, 10 Camels, you don't really have the army to deal with that. If he gets there. I said 10 Lancers and 10 Camels. He does not have that yet.
That's an aspirational army at the moment.
Yeah.
Nice job picking off the reinforcing Vil. And like we saw in the last series, like Cav Archers just being able to run around constantly and, you know, sort of keep the opponent's army at home is just such an enormous advantage for the unit. Now, they do take a little bit of damage right there, but now we're back to shooting and scooting. And both players have Husbandry.
DracKeN's such an interesting player. If you're in Mihai's position, that Siege Workshop's been up forever, so you just assume he's done with the push now, right? He's done with the push. That's one Mangonel, and he's going to add eco. Because most people, if they haven't started to push yet, they stop and transition into eco. But that could not be further from the truth. He's got 3 Mangonels in there, and with a hill bonus, that could destroy the range, the stable, the walls so quickly. So let's see. I mean, I know that the lead is pretty significant right now for Mihai, but one of his ranges is being attacked and will be destroyed. His other range could be sieged down. He only has Cav Archers. I think this could be really awkward for him over the next 5 minutes here.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. There is now a forward monastery too. Always want to heal up those expensive cavalry and camel units. And something that I feel like is what can separate like a good player from a great player is just having that killer instinct. Knowing that, okay, I'm not going to just play from behind and try and play that more eco style because players are too good these days. They'll just kill you with timings.
Yeah.
This is called I'm going to go kill you by doing something you don't expect. And here we go.
Yeah, and this is what DracKeN's really good with. A lot of people don't give enough credit on the open maps as well that he can do this. Those Cav Archers are in a really dangerous position. Walls behind the range now. And good luck defending this Mihai. I guess the positive is you will have the hill. And he did get good walls down to prevent the army from running through, but he still needs an answer to this.
I'm sorry, what were you saying?
Oh, there's a hole there. Never mind. Well, I think the key for DracKeN is actually to just still grind down these buildings and take down the stable first. You don't want to run into a choke point like that, and if your opponent has their own siege, lose everything. But Lancers are crazy strong. Oh, man.
There's the Siege Workshop. And the thing is, you saw the timing of the Siege Workshop going up, so I feel like there's a chance that you might be able to Mangonel it down before the enemy Mangonel comes out.
I agree.
I see that's happening.
He needs to actually commit to it, though. If he commits everything to that, then Mihai won't get it out in time. Wow, and Mihai's going to repair it.
Oh, I love the attack run from DracKeN. Oh, it's almost out. It could be like a huge shot, but no. Oh, no, T90.
Dude, this is terrifying. And so you have the eco lead, right? You've got a 25 eco lead. You've collected 2,000 more resources. But DracKeN is just putting everything he has into this push. Mihai, it needs his micro, and that's a start. Will kill one of the Mangonels. Should actually get a second. Might even get a third.
What?
That's crazy. I think
DracKeN, do something.
Well, he's going to dive with the Lancers now. He is going to do something. He'll dive with the Lancers. The CA are still microing. Mihai is badly housed. I guess that'll sort itself out because he will lose so much CA, and his CA are going to disappear. His TC could go down. He's got nothing.
Uh-oh. Trying to add in more archery ranges, but as you were saying, T90, because one range was forward, one range was part of the wall, he just doesn't have the infrastructure necessary to be producing an army. The monks are going to try and get some value, does get one Step Lancer conversion, but another Mangonel is out. Even the monks could try and go for some CA conversions. The army numbers are getting low for both players here, though.
Yeah, true, and the Mangonel's out for Mihai. DracKeN his micro needs to be on point here. He microed the one on the left, so Mihai gets the shot. And it's Knights and Camels for Mihai as well, which is a good move, but DracKeN's monks are there to, in theory, convert them. And the micro is good from DracKeN yet again. What a game. What a game.
Now, this is the start of the series that we are looking for and expect from these two players. Both are definitely playing to their strengths here. And yes, Mihai has that resources lead, but DracKeN's also killed more resources, and it's still going to come down to unit control.
Yep, and I'm actually kind of okay with the decision to just snipe the siege every time. I'm okay with that. Even if you lose some units to conversions, it's fine. You've got some monks to convert it back. Maybe pull back your lancers, though, if you're DracKeN. You do have to be a little bit careful. Mihai's actually going to go for the monks. The camels for DracKeN are out of the picture. The monks don't get conversions.
They don't. Honestly, decent mangonel hit on the cavalry, though.
I can't tell who's winning this fight. And if I can't tell who's winning the fight, then...
That's good for Mihai, because he'll just have the better reinforcements.
Yeah, you would think so. And
I do think so.
He does hold it.
I have conviction in my beliefs.
Wow, dude, that was close.
That's
really tough. Now, still, like DracKeN, his push isn't dead. He still has a pretty big army. The base is still open, but 61 Vils versus 85. And this should be where Mihai can get his grouping of army up again, shift some Vils onto stone for castles and whatnot, and he seems to be trying.
Yeah, that might be 2 more conversions right there. There's 1.
Oh,
and there's 2.
That's painful. Yeah, I wonder if you just skip the siege from this point, honestly, and you just go full Lancer and just hope to win a big engagement, because building up to 5 mangonels is going to be so tough to do.
It takes too long, I think, at this point. Back to another engagement here at the front, but this is where Mihai has actually a much more well-rounded army composition. He's got the cav archers and camels all attacking at the same time, able to retain value quite nicely, and this is where having 50% more villagers should be decisive.
The crazy thing is, I think Mihai should be running out of gold at some point soon. I can't actually look away from the fight to check, but DracKeN calls the GG. I'm curious. Okay, so he still had 1,600 gold there in the back, but eventually would have needed to move out to some of those other golds.
He still had 3k gold in this base.
Yeah, so I guess gold was never going to be an issue. Wow, what a hold, man. Honestly, with those types of pushes, right, you can't lose your siege ball or your army ball. And there was a moment there where it was like, I think 5 mangonels versus 1. And no, I think it was 5 mangonels versus 0. And Mihai sniped 3 of them with the CA, right?
Yeah. That was absolutely the turning point in the game. The cavalry units were busy attacking like the random buildings at the front. If they were there to zone off the CA from the mangonels, the TC goes down, and suddenly things start to look extremely dire for Mihai. But I mean, it's about finding those windows to get damage done, and he'll take game number 1.
Yeah, I think the other thing, too, which could have gone differently for DracKeN potentially, was the hole in his houses much earlier. I think he went all in because the game, the eco KD was even, and so he correctly understood that if it's even, I can't boom against the Mongols. I need to go all in. But imagine if that army never breaks through, if he kills a bunch of Vils and actually has a significant lead in Feudal Age. He would have had army that didn't have to come back home to clear up the archers too. Like, that's going to be one DracKeN wants back.
Yeah, absolutely. It's tough, and remember, it's like I mean, I like the shorter series within TTL, right? Because every game is just absolutely critical, and now you're going to need to beat Mihai on Acropolis if you want to win this set.
Yep, here we are, and this is the map that DracKeN's known for. Let's go. Fortified clearing. Any map with stone walls is what DracKeN wants, as demonstrated in the previous game, because he built his own walls, and there was a hole. So there should be no hole along the front. He's gone for Burgundians. This is definitely a first for me this season. I don't think I've ever seen Saracens on fortified clearing. Have you?
I want to say no, but Saracens are a civ that if you like the civ, if you play to its strengths, they can be good on every single map, and this feels like no exceptions. I mean, Burgundians just don't deal with Mamelukes, so if you can get to that, it feels like that is just a very real win condition.
Yeah, that's true. Mamelukes, and also maybe, I feel like Arbalest civs actually can be quite good against Burgundians if the timings are there, because Burgundian skirms lack some armor. The Burgundians do usually use the bombard cannons there, but that's tricky. But, the other scary thing about the Saracens is they could do some crazy feudal age shenanigans too, man. People wall on the outside, you could go archers against those walls. I've seen tower rushing and archers be a strat on some arena-style maps with 1080 HP walls, which this is. So you have options.
Yeah, and that's always, I think, what creates a fun and interesting matchup, right? Because you have Burgundians who are just so streamlined into doing, okay, scouts into booming, especially on a map with a bunch of relics like this one. Which, I mean, it's very powerful, right? But it's usually going to be the same thing every time. Whereas Mihai, the ball is definitely in his court as to how exactly you want to approach things with Saracens, especially knowing that this is going to be where DracKeN's playing his best.
Yeah, I agree. It should be interesting. I think there's lots of reasons for Mihai to be defensive or aggressive here, but there's very little reasons for DracKeN to be aggressive. He should really be the one that's defensive. So we've got some time. I wanted to ask, so far, and honestly, we can loop in golds and plat in this. Which players have been the big surprise for you positively, the big standouts this season?
Repard for sure.
Yep.
I mean, he's just kind of an inconsistent player, right? Like, we know he has the skill level to do well even in Gold League, but he doesn't usually put it all together, but he did it here.
Yeah, I mean, he's likely to win this group, which actually blows my mind. The thing about him is he, like, on ladder, for as long as I've known him, back to the Voobly days, he's honestly just like a super competitive, aggressive individual in terms of how he sees even a ranked game. And so I think his mentality must be super strong because, like...
Yeah, that's very true.
Most people, they've ranked games, they're chill, they don't steal boars, they good luck, have fun, they're chatting, having fun. Rapard's going to war when he plays this game. He's going to war, and it's crazy aggressive. And I think that is maybe translated for him. I don't know. I haven't spoken to him to see if he trained much, because I know a lot of other people have been training tons of sets, but to be first in this group is beyond impressive.
Yeah, no, it's been great to see. I think Dark has been another standout player who, again, we know that in Platinum League, he has the skill level. I mean, he can play insanely well on a good day, but he just hasn't been consistent enough recently. But, yeah, I mean, he's doing super well right now, too.
Yeah, I think Dark's definitely been my standout in Platinum so far. I think he's first in that group right now.
I just checked and he is.
Yeah, which is crazy. Let me think. I mean, with Gold, I actually have been very impressed with Prisma in this group because Prisma I put into the category of needing an extra year or so of losses to eventually get through that, as most players need to. He's like 18 or 19. Just like Lucho as well, who's in another group. And so I think I credit a lot of that to their teammates. Nikov told me he was doing tons of training sessions with them, for example. So I think that's paid off. But I really wasn't expecting. I was kind of feeling their seasons would be similar to Wide, where they make it, that's their positive. They made the league, and then they get relegated out, and that hasn't been the case. So...
Yeah, no, it's been great to see. And of course, like the one player I'm not surprised is dominating is Siscon. I think that he's just been looking insane recently, and the map pool being so aggressive and hybrid mappy for the most part, like that's going to play to his strengths. And I mean, he's obviously crushing it, but I expected him to do really well. Yeah,
I didn't think he'd get first though. I thought that Kingston would probably be first in that group, and that like maybe Siscon could get second or third. But I asked him, and I also asked Lewis once they won first in their groups in Gold. I said, like, how much training have you done? Lewis said 100 games, roughly. 100 games. And Siscon said 30 sets, around 30 or 40 sets. So, like, the training paid off, dude. And how, like, that's so exciting to hear, right? Because how many times...
That's always what you want to hear as a tournament
organizer,
for sure.
Exactly. That's why I told you earlier... Because you're involved in Valhalla. That's why I told you I practiced the chopping through the trees on that map because I know how it makes you feel. It's like, it's such a breath of fresh air to see, you know, the new talents practice and beat the big boys. So it's been good. But we've got a Tower Rush Archer play from Mihai. So you always have the option. And he wants to take DracKeN as far away from the relaxed, safe boom as possible, I guess.
Yeah, and I mean, look at this. Unfortunate stone generation for DracKeN. He's up on 27 pop, which, I mean, I would say that stock standard is probably 26 with Burgundians, so maybe like a little bit later than average with a little bit far forward of a stone. This is definitely an opportunity for success here for Mihai. Yeah,
Mihai also found that scout. So DracKeN won't have that scout for later, which is really valuable for map control. I'm wondering if those Vils are getting a hill bonus on that wall right now. Can you tell?
I can never tell, man.
Because I think, Like, they're
Maybe.
definitely on a hill, but then the wall is on a hill. I don't know. It feels like it's a different tile. So, anyways, Mihai finding that maybe has led to him breaking through a little bit faster. And he'll have the
They were
archers.
doing 7 damage a hit, so I think it was on equal elevation.
Okay. Well, unlike other arena maps, this has the same amount of HP as you would have in a ranked game right now. Whereas a lot of tournament scripts actually remove this possibility. And oh my goodness, this wall's going down so fast. DracKeN, you can't let this army through!
Oh, no!
He has no loom! He has no loom! It is in queue.
Saracen archers.
Wow. He's going to lose multiple vills before loom is in. As long as Mihai just attacks the vills, they're dead. Oh, man. Oh, it's a disaster for DracKeN!
Okay, well, loom is in.
Just...
Oh, it's a 5 dead vills already. Never mind. I thought it was like 2.
Yeah, and the other vills are walled in on the wood line, and the tower doesn't immediately save them.
Yeah.
Honestly, Mihai, you've kind of done exactly what you set out to do with this. Just don't get your own 4 villagers trapped, and this might be game. Wow.
Well, that was unfortunately very disappointing for DracKeN.
What a strat, man. I mean, we know DracKeN wants his time, and the Burgundians need their time. And Mihai said, nope, not doing it. Not going to let it happen. That's crazy.
Wow. Perfect game for Mihai. 8 kills, 0 deaths.
Is there, I mean, obviously there's an argument for this because he just lost 7 vills. But was it too greedy from DracKeN to not get loom before he clicked up to Feudal? Because the attack started before he clicked up. Should he have done that, maybe? Like,
I think versus Saracens you have to because of the archer bonus.
Maybe.
And, like, walls are, like, you know, Dark Age Palisades got their HP nerfed a while ago. It's only 150 HP in Dark Age. It's really not much.
Yeah, true. Well, worked out, obviously. I think now, I need to double check again. That means DracKeN shouldn't be in playoffs. It's funny, we talk about it and then I immediately forget what I said. So, I think he shouldn't be in playoffs.
There with you, man.
And then Mihai is most likely secured for playoffs, but it might depend on the position. Yes, okay. So, oh, sorry, I have fake results in there. Yeah, so as it stands, if Mihai loses this next game, he's still in the playoffs, but it all just comes down to what position he's in. So if you're in second place in the group, you play third place from another group, so in theory, it's better to be second place. On top of, like, the $20 per win, too. Here we are, Game 3. Mihai is guaranteed a playoff spot, which is exciting. We just don't know which spot. It'll depend on this result and also the final series in the group. And then DracKeN is officially 4th, regardless here. So that's kind of nice, Orlu, that he should know. At least he's safe if he gets swept.
Yeah,
but
that's true.
He will have won. He'll feel like he only played one game so far. Like, he played game number 1. Game number 2 wasn't a real game. And he goes Lithuanians against Japanese on Acropolis.
Well, 2 very strong, aggressive hybrid civs. And, I mean, in the games I've seen so far, and I mean, you've seen more than me, but it just feels like getting control of this early pawn gives you such a huge swing.
Yeah, it does. I think you absolutely have to take it. But it has become a conversation for me of how much are you going to invest into keeping it?
That's true.
Because I've seen instances where people make like 4 fires, they win the water, and then they have 3 fishing ships on a couple of shorefish. But yeah, I think the drafts have been dominated by civilizations that have a bonus that allow them to get the dock in Dark Age, and then they usually transition away from there.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that, okay, invest into 1 fire ship if you want to, but what I just don't like seeing is when people don't invest into the water at all and they just let their opponent have those fishing ships like we saw in the last series.
Yeah.
I feel like that has a 2% chance of working.
Yeah, agreed. Well, I didn't expect it to be exactly like that when we added it. It's just the reason I did it was because we want to spice up the maps a little bit, add a little bit more preparation and variety compared to what we've had in the past, because we've had Acropolis before. And then also because this pond has always been a feature of Acropolis, but it's never been of any value or use. So
only in like Team Acropolis, like I think one of the Nations Cups had like, you know, the 4v4, and then they had like some fish in the middle, so it had like one pocket go for water or something like that. But that's about it.
I think isn't there like a wasn't there a Battle of Africa map with a big pond in the middle similar to this?
Oh yeah.
It was like Acropolis. It was like a Team Acropolis circle.
It was like a ridge and a circle, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's where my brain goes. But yeah, both players going to go for the dock, and everyone has done so. I definitely don't think we would have seen Japanese picked as frequently on this map if we didn't have the water aspect. I think Lithuanians would have worked well still. Fast spearmen, good scout map. But Japanese have been pretty high up there on the drafts because of it.
Well, I mean, they just feel like such an, not like overbearing hybrid civ, but it's like just top tier pick. You have the ridiculously good Cav Archer bonus now as well, so they can play those more meta land army compositions. You have good monks. It feels like Japanese are a civ on hybrid maps that have few to no downsides.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the hybrid combined with the CA bonus makes them really strong, because we're in a really heavy CA meta right now for a lot of players. I feel like there definitely are situations where people are going Cav Archers, and I'm just like, this isn't a situation that actually suits Cav Archers. I think it's a little forced at times because it's just on people's minds, but Japanese, it's hard to argue with making them with the extra 2 attack.
I'm still salty about that bonus, by the way. I'm trying not to go on a rant about how much I don't like that.
No. We like rants here. Please talk to me about it, because my feeling was that it was unnecessary as well. But I want to hear your thoughts on that addition. It was what, 6 months ago, 8 months ago now? I don't know.
Yeah, something like that. Well, it was, I think, like 8 months ago, and then they removed the skirmisher bonus, which is at least something.
Okay.
But I don't like it from a design perspective because, yes, I know samurai historically were often mounted archers. Like, I know that. But the way the Japanese are designed in AoE 2 is to have this pretty unique dynamic where you have a lot of sort of cheaper, weak units that are supported by towers and trebuchets and maybe some monks.
Yep.
And it's kind of this slow, grindy style that is really fun and unique with Japanese, like ever since they added Yasuma. And it's really cool. But now it's just like you're playing like, okay, another CA like Cav Civ. And it really sort of kills a lot of the flavor I associate with Japanese.
I actually agree with that statement in full. I also would say that DracKeN, the flavor for this series has gotten even worse for him because his scout went down. No, I agree with you, dude. It felt a little forced to me. We could probably both have a long conversation about certain decisions, certain additions to the game where there have been additions that have felt forced, right? Forced is the word. It's like excessive. I think you could then say that it maybe was forced because of additional unnecessary things that maybe have been added. We're coming off like old men a little bit here, Ornlu, but
absolutely.
That's my take. That's my take.
I spent an hour and a half of scripted video time talking about civ design recently, and I was an old man yelling at the clouds about power creep. So I've gotten that a lot recently.
I really like we're in a really good spot balance-wise. Don't get me wrong, right?
Yeah.
But what makes the game beautiful for me is pros and cons of every decision and what a civilization has and doesn't have. And if every civilization ends up having the exact same options at the end of the day, or similar enough options, then you lose some of that. And I think, I'm not going to say balancing the game is easy, but I definitely feel as though, as DracKeN's getting annoyed by the scout, I definitely feel as though the Japanese Cav Archer bonus is a little bit of an example there.
Yeah, totally agree. Well, at least, I had my safe space online for my rant and not being made fun of for 10 seconds.
Yeah, no, I get it. And I totally get it. And it's not simple necessarily, but see your point on that. We'll see if it gets there. DracKeN does kill the scout.
Oh, there you go.
So both scouts are dead. And DracKeN is going to be going scouts. They've got fire galleys from both, but Mihai did go to gold, or at least is going to gold. So he can't actually make his second fire yet. And DracKeN, I think, walked out to a gold tile and took 40 gold, which is really smart. So he's not going to actively mine the gold, but he can make the second fire galley faster.
Yeah, nice little move there. Again, it shows a degree of preparation, which you always want to see. Just getting that exact amount of gold needed for the 2 fire ships, because you just don't really ever invest into that 3rd fire ship.
Yeah.
And, there you go, barely getting to survive. Like, sometimes the fire ships kill each other, but just barely able to survive there.
The villager's angry. Yeah, that's all you want right there. I think that's the most amount of investment you would ever want on this map, ideally. DracKeN's going to have things on land to worry about now. He has struggled a bit. He did get housed a lot. He does have spears and scouts lingering around, but that's a good move. And I think more people need to be doing that. Just don't even actively mine gold. Just go out, get enough gold for the second fire. If you're going to go scouts, there's no need to be on gold.
And I don't know about you, but I love the decision from Mihai to cancel the extra fire ship he was making. It's just not worth it at this point. I mean, there's just a couple of shorefish left, so you already have a lot of potential here on the land with your scouts and spearmen, and just focus on that, and that's exactly what he's doing.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and I do like now he has the wood and he has the gold, so he's naturally going to spend that. So already on the range, he'll go archers. So a lot happening here. I mean, the toughest thing to really point out right now is their economies are making some pretty heavy transitions. They're running out of sheep. They're going to need all their farms right now. And DracKeN loses a vill on the berries. But he's floating the wood. Mihai's floating the wood. So very easy to make mistakes over the next 2 minutes.
Yeah, it was interesting because I was just looking at that. Like, both players were banking up wood. Both players needed to add in farms, I think, a little bit more gradually just to have that smooth, continuous income that you're really looking for. But obviously, they're having to micro on several different fronts at once. But it's just, those little optimizations that really, are a huge deal in AoE2 right now.
Yeah, and there's not a lot of scouts out there. But still, Mihai lost 3 spearmen to the TC because he placed the farms. So that's just part of it.
Yeah.
But I like his position. He has 2 scouts, which is more than DracKeN has. And he's got 3 archers, which is definitely way more than DracKeN has. So I think DracKeN is correctly recognizing that he's behind in production there. So he's going to compensate with 2 ranges. But yeah, Mihai was the fastest to go for the push on land. And he should be the fastest with the follow-up now.
That said, DracKeN is starting to bank up food a little bit faster. Okay, he's making archers. I was wondering if he was going skirmishers, he might be safer, but he would also not be able to get maybe as good of a castle age time. That feels like one of the best ways you can get back into this game as DracKeN is if you can get that initiative in castle age as Lithuanians and start picking up relics.
Yeah, I really like the mix, actually. If you're going double range these days, the mix of archer and skirm feels good because you go full skirm, you're vulnerable against scouts. If you go full archer, you are vulnerable against skirm. You kind of mix the two, and it actually becomes like you, with your ball, your mixed ball is confident against any type of unit, and your opponent has to be particular on what they do and do not micro down. So I don't know if I explained that.
And we're seeing that right there from Mihai, already getting the snipe onto the more fragile units in his opponent's army. The spearmen and the archers just don't bother as much on the scouts, but the spearmen still get some pokes in.
Man.
Oh, this is a very granular fight.
Yeah, that to me, I mean, I was expecting that to be a really good fight for DracKeN, but I think he just wasn't actually microing it, or at least he didn't micro it as well. Like, that micro from Mihai was absolutely insane. He killed all the archers. He killed the spearmen. His scout lives to tell the tale, too. So maybe a fletching difference, but that was clean.
Yeah, I mean, and that's where Mihai got started as a player, right? It's just his ranged unit control, a la Leary, just going triple range crossbowman on every single map.
Yep.
A few years ago. And, obviously Mihai's become such more of a well-rounded player, like all of the guys on Fox. But, I mean, it's still nice to see him go back to his roots even a little bit.
Yeah. Yep, I agree. I mean, every game he's gone archer so far, if you think about it. Game 1, he did.
Yep.
And now, Game 2, obviously he did, for those that were even here to see it. But this is so good. DracKeN didn't have the upgrades before. DracKeN lost numbers. So DracKeN's obviously going to push out and get those upgrades. But it almost seems calculated from Mihai. Let's allow DracKeN to move forward. Let's make him feel like he's in a good position, and then let's pounce on this army.
Oh, that's what he's going to be doing. But on the other hand, it's time that Mihai is spending at home with his army, and DracKeN selling a bunch of wood, going to click his way up to Castle Age. So, like I was saying, I do think that getting a Castle Age advantage is huge here for the Lithuanians. It's just a matter of can you get there safely now.
Yeah.
Mihai just sending the bare minimum of units to defend here, which I love.
Yeah, it's sending the archers forward, using the scouts for everything else. That's great. Now, he is going to tower behind DracKeN's woodline. DracKeN built a defensive tower, which would help if the archers got close. He can't do anything about that, though. So this could get really awkward. I know DracKeN will be Castle Age faster, but what exactly is he going to be working with when he makes it to the Castle Age?
He's going to go triple ranges as Lithuanians, which I don't get.
Well, he doesn't have the food eco for knights, so maybe he just feels forced to stay ranged units right now. And needs some army right now. If he waited another minute, he's dead. So he's near the TC. This has kept him alive. The tower is up, though the villagers are dying to a fire ship. He's just repositioning his wood line. But a lot going on here. Mihai needs to get some damage.
He does, and he hasn't gotten it yet. Personally, I think that just buying another defensive watchtower for the gold mine would probably have still done the trick.
Yeah.
But, well, I mean, he still has the production. He's still getting those range units down, and he'll have a nice timing here in just a moment.
And Mihai has been patient, which we can commend him for, but he needs to actually get some kills here. One villager gets away, another villager gets away. That villager should die. But DracKeN's up, getting bodkin, getting crossbow, and then going for CA. I mean, he's got it. If he can keep these archers alive, that alone is actually kind of tough for Mihai to deal with right now. So well played.
I mean, let's journey back in nostalgia to the days of the Hun War, right? And oftentimes, when the Cav Archer battle was just who had the big blob of crossbowmen left over from Feudal Age to take those early fights.
Oh, but if we're talking Hun Wars, sometimes the guy who'd have the leftover scouts would have the better eco, though.
Exactly.
Because they could use the scouts. The scouts are not really being used effectively just yet from Mihai, but he knows the Vils went to another woodline. He'll find it with scouts that have bloodlines and forging soon. And so now he would actually benefit from buying some stone for a tower. He's going to mine it on the back, but no market and no stone to defensive tower the woodline for Mihai.
Yeah, but Mihai still has yet to click up to Castle Age.
Oh.
So it's going to be the full feudal defense.
I didn't realize. For whatever reason, I thought he was up already.
Oh, it's too many scouts.
Yeah.
Really, it's, the catch-22. If I stop making units, I die, but I'm not able to click up the Castle Age. We're on double stables, single range right now as our yellow player.
That's sick for DracKeN then. Eco KD's even. He's got access to every resource he needs. The scouts haven't really killed a ton. The archers are on the gold, though. The archers are wrecking his gold. I didn't even notice that.
Jeez. I just saw the minimap, the yellow, and I'm like, okay, that's just the gold. No!
Yeah, true. That's so funny. You gotta pick yellow on Gold Rush to blend in with the gold, I guess.
I just pick yellow because it's best for colorblind people. At least for me, it stands out the most.
Well, that's great for Mihai because for the time being, his eco is not being hit by DracKeN. DracKeN has had to deal with that raid. This now gives him time to get the stone for the tower, for the woodline, that if he didn't mine, he'd be completely toast with. He knows the woodline's still out there. He still has scouts, he still has archers, and the crossbows will arrive from DracKeN to, well, find a bunch more scouts from Mihai.
Yes. Now, the one thing that is still great for DracKeN is that he's still developing his army of Cav Archers, and that hasn't been impeded in any way.
Yeah.
So he's still getting a better army. His opponent is still in Feudal Age, and obviously there is just a point where you have enough Cav Archers to kill everything. We're not there yet.
But if you could have a defensive tower everywhere, which obviously is ambitious, then you can go castle. Then you have a monstrous economy. Like, you can just ignore the CA if you tower everything. He's going to tower the gold now. He's got enough stone coming in to maybe tower next to that on the stone. It's actually kind of tough for DracKeN to know what to do. And now the archers are back on the woodline again because DracKeN just couldn't keep track.
I mean, it's just so much that's going on. And of course, Mihai, his multitasking is fantastic. Just knowing when and where to strike. You have a bunch of food now being bought, so Castle Age is going to be clicked up in just a moment.
Wow.
15 villager discrepancy, and right now DracKeN is in the you need to do damage right now time frame.
Yeah, it's just such a rare game. This actually feels so similar to games of the past. It's funny you mentioned old Hun Wars, like
yeah,
the Scout all in versus the CA low eco. Mihai's still exposed in some areas, but he's got towers in most spots. And those scouts could go right back to the woodline, too. These scouts are fully upgraded. They can kill that army they're meeting in the middle. And DracKeN...
No bloodlines, even.
Will get to the gold. The tower gets garrisoned. He'll probably camp underneath it, which feels reasonable. But his woodline. You better house wall, DracKeN. You better house wall, bro.
Yeah. Oh, no.
Yikes.
Not the peasants.
Yeah, I mean, he's raiding and micring his CA now, so that's what he's looking at. But the scouts come in. Mihai, a minute away from Castle Age, is going to wreck everything here. And so many of these vills are weak from the archers in the towers before. Honestly, I think everything at that woodline dies.
Yeah, Well, the Cav archers are coming back, but if not everything, almost everything that isn't garrisoned in a tower, and looks like you are right on that one. Ow. Just ow.
Just ow.
That is the level of insight I can provide at this moment and nothing else.
He still has 12 Cav archers. His opponent's going to lose most of the scouts, but it's 52 villagers against 32. So as long as Mihai can get his vills back to work, and outside of these towers, he could go for his own CA. Also should be able to afford light Cav. What a hold from Mihai. It looked so rough when I realized he wasn't up to Castle Age. He did a great job harassing DracKeN while also defending himself.
Yeah, now for Mihai, it's just a matter of just developing the CA numbers. He's still keeping his scouts alive. He's not throwing away any units he doesn't need to, and now he's just going to go right back to the gold. Yeah, absolutely love to see this. Even splitting up his scout cav there.
Yeah, he's just making life so difficult for DracKeN. It's like, fine, go ahead, focus full army. Good luck finding damage against me, as I'm going to find damage against you. He's been to every gold. He's been to every wood line. He's been everywhere. And now he defends from the CA underneath his towers with his own Cav archers, and it just feels like DracKeN needs damage right now, and it needs to be significant. And if he doesn't find it, Mihai's eco should really kick in.
Yeah, I got the university coming in now, and of course this is where we can mention again the +2 bonus damage Mihai himself gets against his enemy Cav archers, so he doesn't need necessarily the exact same number, but like once you just get enough Cav archers to one-shot enemy Cav archers consistently, that should be enough. Even husbandry coming in, and great reaction time from our yellow player.
Yep. Towers were a great play. You do not see this that frequently. You'll see like guard tower rush with Japanese, but defensive towers is not the natural play in most instances. I think this fight is going to be good enough for Mihai where he considers this acceptable with his eco lead.
I mean, it's just like game number 1, right? It might not be the prettiest fight in the world, but if you have so much of a better eco, sometimes good enough is good enough, and GG whoa.
Yep, GG whoa. Playoffs. For the second time, DracKeN drops the GG whoa. And DracKeN knew exactly what the series meant, right? And he knows that he will be back in gold next season. I don't think this is a bad season from DracKeN. I don't think it's the season he would have wanted, but he's still back in gold. It'll be great to see him compete in gold next season, but Mihai obviously wants more than that. And we'll look at what the standings mean. Mihai will be in the playoffs, either second or third place position, and could potentially make it to platinum on the weekends. And DracKeN ends up in 4th spot in the group, which is some of this I predicted, some of this I didn't. I thought Mihai would be first in the group, and maybe DracKeN would be 4th. Mihai not first because of Repart, but let's see. It's so embarrassing. I'll talk about it and say this is what this result means, and then I'll forget instantly and have to go back to this. Okay. So that actually that actually locks Mihai as second.
Oh, interesting.
So that locks Mihai as second. So even if Prisma wins 3-0 next, I guess Mihai would be ahead of him in the tiebreak. So for Prisma...
Oh, yeah, because we looked at that earlier, right? Because it would be 10-5. 10-5.
Well, hold on. No, it would be... No, if Prisma wins 3-0, does he go first? Yeah, that's what it is. So Mihai doesn't change. If Prisma wins 3-0, he goes first. Rapard goes down to third.
Okay.
But any other result means that Rapard is first, Mihai is second, Prisma is third right now. Got it.